Good morning, Tuesday the 11th of March, live across the UK, Britain's newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Bev Turner.
Good morning. So, what's happening to the political right? Ex-reform...
They were review bars, strip bars, the bunny girls back in the 60s and 70s.
I wouldn't know, Andrew.
60s and 70s, well, I used to read about them. So this has almost gone under the radar. Westminster Council has approved the return of a strip club with pole dancing, and they want to appeal to a mature female audience. Bev?
They want to appeal to a mature female audience?
Well, they're obviously going to have male strippers too.
Oh, maybe it's not all bad.
That's why she wants membership.
It's not all bad. I will try and talk about that story this morning without getting the childish giggles that we often get. gbnews.com/your say to let us know your thoughts this morning. First, though, here is Katie Bowen with your news. Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Bev until midday. Shall we see what you've been saying at home?
Yeah.
Just digesting our biscuits. He stole them from the doctors.
Well, I didn't steal them.
They were complimentary.
They were. I only took one packet.
You've obviously got a posh doctors. They give out free biscuits. Mm. Well, that's the world we're living in, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, lucky if you can afford private healthcare.
No, it's where I went to get my blood tests.
Oh. Well, that's presumably not on the NHS.
It's all linked to my heart, which shows at least I have one.
Yeah.
Not everybody would agree with that.
There's a lot of heart problems around at the moment. You'd be surprised. Right, let's have a look at the gbnews.com/your say page. Why are Reform still a limited company? You're all still talking about Reform on there. Anyone subscribing is not a member. Now, they are still a limited company with two directors.
So they cleared out the old company in which Nigel Farage was the major shareholder, which is why he could seize the leadership of the party without any reference to the members. Yeah. So that's all gone. But a new company's been set up, Reform 2025, with two directors, Nigel Farage and Zia Youssef, the chairman. So people like Ben Habib and Rupert Lowe say still isn't democratic. They still run the show.
I guess it's a work in progress, that, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess.
Sandra said, I'd still like to vote for Reform, but if not, I will just not vote. I had so much hope in them. Sandra, that is the constituent that Reform will have to
What
win
I say
back.
to people, and I had this conversation with somebody the other day, said I didn't vote the election last time. I said, well, you should at least go to the ballot paper and spoil your paper because that is registered, that is counted, and at the end of each count they say spoiled ballot papers X. And if there are 10% or 50%, that will tell our politicians how much faith they've lost with the country.
And it's also... sorry, I'm just moving on to this, actually, about Manchester United, because we're going to be talking to somebody in just a minute about the Manchester United
Chris Blackhurst,
stadium.
who is the expert on Manchester United.
Yeah. John says, why does Manchester United need to increase their stadium to a 100,000-seater? For what would be the biggest UK stadium, even bigger than Wembley, when they aren't even in the top 10 places in the Premier League. They are not the same club as when Alex Ferguson was in charge, and I'm not a fan of them. Now... We're not particularly interested in where they are in the Football League. We're just interested in the fact this iconic stadium, Old Trafford, which even Bev and I have heard of, appears to be vanishing. I'm raised, born and bred a Man United fan. And I don't follow football anymore, but my dad will be on the edge of his seat trying to find out what's going to happen to the stadium. Well, stay
listening, Dad, because we've got the expert coming. Now, the Tories are pushing for a package of measures which would mean all foreign criminals in our prisons, just to remind you, there are 10,500 costing £1.3 million a day. The Tories say they should all be deported.
That's right. The Conservatives are aiming to remove the threshold, which says that only foreign criminals with a 12-month plus jail term can face removal. Let's understand this in a little bit more detail with our... Up next, is there anything wrong with Cirque du Soleil-style performances, fully nude strip-teases in private VIP rooms and once-weekly shows by LGBTQ+I performers on the high... LGBTQI+, sorry.
Can we just say gays?
Yeah. On the high street, would you want it down your road? We're going to be looking at a new premises opening in London. He's already signed up. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom. We're just talking about what we're having. I've put the slow cooker on this morning, you'll be pleased to know. Chicken.
Well, what's it got? Doesn't benefit me.
just, you know, nice to know that I'm a domestic goddess when I'm not here.
When you're not on your... We are going to be talking about this extraordinary strip club that's opening in Soho.
You're going to say when I'm not on my pole.
I think it's a belting story.
It is a good story.
It's just hardly been picked up.
Yeah, but I just presume that Soho is full of strip clubs anyway, but apparently not.
A lot of them were closed down.
Right, let's see what you have been saying at home. Let me have a look. We have to get down to the ones which are appropriate to read out. No, not that one. Not that one either. Not that one either. Neil says, this new stadium for Manchester United, will it be funded? This will be funded by taxpayer money. Whoa. This was announced by Starmer months ago that they would be helping to fund it with the government funding from the taxpayer. You just can't make it up.
And just to remind you, Jim Ratcliffe, the owner of Manchester United, he's got a large stake, is a billionaire. So why are the taxpayer funding any of it?
Well, we will be asking our guest in just a minute, because we're going to talk to somebody about this story. I think it's quite interesting.
And we should check what a season ticket costs at Manchester United too. It's got to be the wealthiest club in the world.
Yeah. Janice says, I can't believe I heard Nigel Nelson say, I know what the real world is looking like.
Poor Nigel. That's harsh, Janice.
He can defend himself in an hour. Richard said that'll be a going nowhere party run by Ben Habib and Rupert Lowe. A lot of you are talking about reform on here still, of course. Here we go. Oh, no, we can't do that one either. Renee, you are my hero, says Colette. Thank you for telling it as it is. I worked for a charity at the time of the EU movement. It was obvious why thousands of families joined their low-paid partners in the UK. Shame on Blair and Brown that allowed the EU citizens to claim the same as British people. I was appalled at how generous our welfare system was. It started under Labour. As for housing benefit, no wonder people don't want to work. At least Ian Duncan-Smith tried to make it fairer. I could go on and on, says Colette. Thank you for that thoughtful, measured message that I could actually read out. GP... No, can't read that one either. Following your conversation with the Reform Regional Manager from Wales, says Linda, when she said the membership is intact. Linda says, I and others have cancelled my membership over the last few days.
That's sad to hear,
and the membership still runs until the due date, resulting in no change to current membership figures. That's interesting because, of course...
Well, they were rattling towards 250,000 members.
Yeah.
So will that rise now be stunted, or will they actually go backwards? Because Rupert Lowe does have many, many thousands of supporters, thousands and thousands.
It's one of the things that Reform are quite... When, you know, Ben Habib, friend of this channel, I think he's a man of great qualities, and I'm disappointed personally that he's not involved with Reform anymore. I think he's a smart bloke. When Ben was in Reform, they had 60,000 members. And since he left, they've gone to, like you say, 220,000.
Well, about 215,000, I think. But they are confident to be 250,000 by the summer, although that may now be set back.
Yeah. Dr Renee is not at work today, says Margaret, leaving patients without a GP. Now, Margaret, that accusation is often levelled at Renee Hundekamp. She's in here once a week with us.
Once a fortnight.
Once a fortnight. And frankly, is doing a very good job of raising issues about the NHS to people from the position of being a GP. She works incredibly hard when she's not here. She has a young daughter as well. So I just want to defend her in that area. Anne-Marie says, why would people be leaving Reform? If a football manager has a spat with the club's chairman, do you stop supporting that team? And ironically, of course, or appropriately, Rupert Lowe has got a history of working in football.
He was the chairman of Southampton Football Club, which was in the Premier League. And he told me when I interviewed him, he said, the abuse you get running a football team, oh, my God. Oh, my God. Yeah, brutal. In fact, they used to sing from the terraces, swing low, swing with mini gallows. So he's a tough old cookie, and you need a thick skin in politics. I'm not sure everybody around Nigel Farage has got a thick enough skin.
Right, up next, you might have seen this headline this week that AI, artificial intelligence, is going to be smarter than humans by next year. We're going to be talking to an expert to find out what that might mean.
It's bad news, I think.
First, though, if you want some winter sun, let's see what the temperatures are like in our top European holiday destinations. Raping his ex-girlfriend before using this attend the hearing by video link.
He said if the defendant lacks the courage to face today, so be it. We'll bring you more on this throughout the day on GB News. Can I just remind people listening and watching, this government, like the last government, said they were going to put a stop to this, and that people who are guilty, smarter than me...
And me.
I can't even log onto the computer.
Ministers have been told that could be the truth as soon as next year.
There's experts are saying artificial intelligence will overtake human intelligence and that more jobs could be at risk than we think if we don't prepare.
So let's speak now to the CEO of Automated Analytics, Mark, a strong Reform woman.
There we are.
Speaking her mind, being sensible, because there's a lot of this is all a lot of infighting between the men.
I've said for a long time to
Reform,
the women. You need more senior women in the operation.
The only thing I would say, though, is that Nigel's had the same team around him since 2013. So this idea that he can't work with people, I think he's just very cautious about who he trusts. Not surprising. He's been public enemy #1 for 20 years. You have to be careful, don't you? Let us know what you think. gbnews.com/your say.
Now, we want to make your spring spectacular in our latest Great British giveaway with your chance to win £17,777 in tax-free cash. But that's not all. You also win not one, but 2 designer watches and a designer bag, which Bev has her eyes on, by the way.
I like it.
Do you want to look and feel part this spring? Here's all the details you'll need.
You just keep supporting
Big
us.
figures, and of course we don't forget people listening to us on the radio too.
No, we love them.
Ever larger numbers.
2 other people that we love, Renee Hoondekamp and Nigel Nelson, are with us in the studio this morning. Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom at 9:50. You locked out of your laptop?
Can't stand it.
He's forgotten his password.
No, I haven't. Got it all sorted out yesterday. Can't get no emails on my phone. Anyway, so the world can pass me by.
He's in a tech vacuum. What are we saying about AI going to be more intelligent than humans in a couple of years?
Far more intelligent than me already, that's for sure.
The Coast Guard has called off the search for a missing crew member after a ship carrying toxic chemicals collided with an American military jet fuel tanker. That's a bit of a shocker. Does that mean that Old Trafford, Man United's football ground, is going to be no more? One
of the most famous grounds probably in the world.
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt.
In fact, I would say it's got to be the most famous ground in the world.
Definitely.
After Wembley. Certainly in Britain.
We're going to dig into that a little bit more, because that's a revelation. What would he do? Level Old Trafford and build it on the same site? Probably not.
Jim Ratcliffe, who's bought the club, is a billionaire, and there's been a lot of cost-cutting at Manchester United, ironically, even though he's a billionaire, he's got rid of a lot of staff. And the team is playing very badly, apparently. So wouldn't you think you'd perhaps spend a bit more money on the team, on the build a stadium?
I love it when you talk about football.
Well, that's it. I've done it. That's my full-sum knowledge.
It's very good.
I think Manchester City play at the Etihad, don't they?
Yes, I believe so.
There we are, look at that. Who would have thought I'd know so much?
You've been getting in touch at home, thank you. Neil Yorkshire Lad says, just remember all the talks of a split in reform are a deliberate ploy orchestrated by the LabCon Uni Party as they wish to maintain their cosy game of ping-pong. Genuine reform supporters are not buying it. The occupation of the theatre by migrants and homeless people has been going on for a while. The Liberal leftists thought it would be nice to invite them to a free show, but the audience took advantage. You're going to have to talk about
typical Liberal leftists thought it would be nice to invite them to a free show, but the audience took advantage of the misguided offer and refused to leave. Typical ungrateful behaviour, but they should have known better. There is a great irony, isn't there? This very liberal theatre invited these migrants in for a few days to keep them out of the cold and the wet and the wind in the winter. That was in December. We're now in March, and they're still there and refusing to go. I
think I was choking on you talking about football with your football knowledge.
Well, shall I talk about it a bit more then?
Sheila, morning Sheila, she said this is wrong. Splitting the right vote is going to weaken it. Anyone that wants to destroy reform will have ample opportunity to attack it. They just need to be grown-ups and leave the egos out of it and make it work for the sake of all of us.
Can I say as well, it's not just about the right vote. There's a lot of what I would call traditional working-class, old-fashioned Labour voters, like my dad, who's not with us now, who would be tempted to vote reform because they're sick to death of Labour not looking after the disadvantaged and sick to death of high levels of migration. So it's not just about disillusioned Tories. There's a lot of people... I mean, reform will steal a lot of votes from the Labour Party and a lot of Labour seats.
And that's why that sort of left-right paradigm for me, it needs revising somehow. It's old-fashioned, doesn't really do the job anymore, does it?
No.
KG Cumbria has said you're going to have the Liberal Right Party, the Conservatives, a centre-right party, Reform, and a further right party, whatever Ben and Rupert Lowe come up with. In the meantime, the Socialists will be uniting around Labour, giving them a chance in the next election unless right-wing politics sorts itself out. I think you speak for a lot of people there, KG. Keep your messages coming this morning, won't you? gbnews.com/your say.
Now, Rupert Lowe, as we've been talking about, who was suspended from reform, says he was suspended because he was a tall poppy. Essentially, he threatened to overshadow the reform leader, Nigel Farage.
He also accused the party of trying to blacken his reputation. So is Nigel Farage threatened by Rupert Lowe's popularity?
Well, let's talk to the former UKIP.
Very good morning to you. Tuesday morning, Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Bev. Until midday, of course. Right. It's still rumbling on, this reform conflict, this breakaway faction, Rupert Lowe, possibly Ben Habib, possibly forming a new party, possibly funded by Elon Musk.
And actually, this has got credence because it's on the front page of the Financial Times. Now, the FT would not put on the front page, they say this, Elon Musk has expressed an interest in backing an alternative to Reform UK following the...
Anything has gone wrong, painting a picture of absolute harmony, professional and personal harmony. But it's signed by members of that team. My understanding is that...
Right, well, there we go.
But this is what's so difficult, right, is when you're talking about situations in the public which have strong legal processes going on behind closed doors, it's very difficult to know what you can and can't say about these situations.
Yeah.
And it is being interpreted, therefore, as Nigel Farage is threatened by the success and the popularity of Rupert Lowe. That might be absolutely patently untrue. And whilst it's all going on legally behind the background, and there are 2 female complainants whose names are not getting mentioned and who are not getting any of the airtime on this story, I think we have to be very careful until this has all come out to see what the situation is.
Yeah, and of course, Rupert Lowe's people will say that this was turned into a great drama unnecessarily, not by Reform bringing in the KC to what Rupert Lowe said. Right, we'll call in the police on the same day.
I wonder.
No sophistication, no attempt to try. It's obvious that people would think this was a knee-jerk reaction.
I wonder how our viewers and listeners would feel if Rupert Lowe was aware of these investigations, making allegations against his failure, effectively, to deal with these bullying allegations in the team, which is how it ends up on Rupert's desk. If he was aware of that before he gave that interview to you, in which he said that Nigel Farage is messianic and may not be capable of leader, does that change how the public would feel about Rupert Lowe? And they might say, you know what, you knew this was coming down the line, you knew these investigations were going on, and you sat down with Andrew Pearce and you slagged off Nigel Farage because... to save your own skin?
Well, I think he wouldn't say that. I think people would... Well, we'll decide. What we do know is this is damaging Reform. It's a story that, in my view, if they had responded in a more low-key way, this would have died a death on Thursday. Here we are on Tuesday. We're still talking about it, and we're now about to talk to, of course, somebody who's very well known to this programme, Howard Cox, who is the doyen